They were free on the first day, $100 each subsequent day. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurundilatam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. By me and my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, the very source of creation. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. But as I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant, I am the butter and the fire and the offering. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seed. O Arjuna, I give heat, and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality, and I am also death personified, both spirit and matter are within me. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. Those who are devotees of other gods, and who worship them with faith, actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do thou, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. In this way you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. And be no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace, O son of Kunti. Declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. O son of Brita, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. How much more, if so, the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed to me, surely will come to me. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Oh, you. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesham Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. You know it? Sure? How do you play the chord? I don't play chords. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Soar so high. Too high. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You got it? Take it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's not it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. I'll just do the third part, watch. Just watch the third part, okay? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. No, that's the note that's off. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Part 1. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And now, please select which verse you'd like to hear from the chapter 9. 22. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasate tesham nityabdiyuktanam yoga shemam vahamyaham. Ananya, having no other object. Chintayanta, concentrating, mam, on me. Yea, those who, jana, persons, pariyupasate, properly worship. Tesham, of them, nitya, always. Abhiyuktanam, fixed in devotion. Yoga, requirements. Shemam, protection. Vahami, carry, aham, I. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Purport. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Shema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition of life. And Akadashi Vrata, do you want to say why you picked that verse?
I especially like where Krishna says, I carry what they lack, because I feel like I lack a lot and I need a lot of help.
Nice. Does anybody have any reflections from the purport or question to expand the conversation? Did you notice anything about it? Yes.
Hare Krishna. The purport mentioned, by the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. In general, we hear of the mercy, we need the mercy of Krishna, the mercy of sadhus. I was wondering if you can expound upon what mercy is and how is it transferred from between two individuals or received.
It's a nice question. Well, there are different circumstances that we can see from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we think about, well, first let's start with the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipratena priprashnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. And in that verse, Krishna is describing what makes one fertile for receiving mercy. Because the quality of being pranipat, which means that you're open to learn. You don't come, well, I'll just say you're open to learn. And that you also have good questions. Prabhupada mentions in another section of the Bhagavad Gita that you shouldn't ask absurd questions. You should ask questions, sincere questions, to learn how to do devotional service better. And sevaya, what does sevaya have to do with learning something? And first of all, you said, what is mercy? When somebody is in a lesser position, they're needy, and somebody else has something that can make the person whole or better, and they give that. That is one of the aspects of mercy, is that the person who has gives to have not. And in the verse I just quoted, there's a way that when you approach somebody humbly, you ask a good question, and you also render service. How does that evoke from the person's heart a sense of wanting to give you something? Well, just think about any circumstance in your life when someone has given you some service, maybe without you even asking. And if it was the kind of service where they weren't expecting anything in return, then how do you feel? Rhetorical question, but I'll just say I know how I feel, and that I'm thinking, how can I give something back? The case of Krishna, in the story of Sudama reluctantly gave some seemingly insignificant offering, but because he was so humble, he thought it unworthy of the Lord, the gift that he gave. And Krishna mentions through the pen of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that, and in the Bhagavatam itself, that how can I repay him? He ends up giving him all the wealth of the material world, and he thinks, that's nothing. What a unequal gift I'm giving back. He gave me that rice, and I'm giving him all the wealth of the material world, and that's just, I feel terrible about it. is the implication of the description there. And so when somebody has something valuable, for instance, knowledge, in the case of Tadvidi Pranipatina, how do you learn the truth? You go to somebody very humbly and ask the right question and render service. And as Burijan Prabhu once said, when you render selfless service to somebody, their heart opens. And where do they keep all the good stuff? It's in their heart. So it flows out to you. It's described in the purport to the verse Evam Vrata Svapriya Namakirtya Jatandurago Jita Chuta Uchar Hasatyato Rautiti Rauti Kayati Unmadavam Ritindi Lokabhayaha, which describes the way that a person's heart becomes soft by chanting Hare Krishna. In fact, in the commentary it says that the heart of a devotee becomes like a flowing river of rose apple juice. And when you render service, then that flow comes to you. It's palpable, even when you, in normal circumstances, for instance, if you want to learn a musical instrument, if you sit in front of a teacher open-mindedly and you offer some service. When I was a kid, it was expected that you'd bring the teacher an apple or something. You just bring the teacher something. But I was once sitting in front of a devotee who was trying to teach me something on a regular basis, and we were sitting on the floor because the instrument was a drum, and we were right in front of each other, and suddenly I felt as if it was an airdrop. Is that what it's called? It was an airdrop because I realized that person had so much experience and had been to so many teachers and had practiced for so many hours, and now was making available to me all of that expertise. And I was just sitting there, duh. But because I was open to it and I had made arrangements to sit there, there was mercy, because he didn't have to give me all that. And what I was giving him in return was practically nothing. So when somebody has something and they give it, then, and they don't necessarily have to, that's mercy. Of course, there's justice when you get exactly what you deserve, but you may not want that. You might consider that we ask for mercy because there are ways in which, of course, it used to be a much better story. My godbrother Magendra Prabhu has a identical twin who was wanted by the FBI. And we were on traveling Sankirtan a lot, and they'd always hold Magendra for a long time to make sure he wasn't the one. He had been involved in a campus protest, and somebody had thrown a firecracker at the police, and just the week before they had passed some, I was going to say fascist, but some kind of very draconian law that if anybody looked at the police the wrong way during a war protest, they would be punished. So they grabbed him. Whether he threw it or not is still a matter of contention, and then threw him in jail. And then he got out on bail, and then he jumped bail and lived for, I think, 20 years with an assumed identity. He became a successful business person in Arizona. He started a health food store and was really successful. And then he got a little too cocky and he ran for mayor, and then an investigative reporter who was reporting on the campaign talked to him, and they did a little too much digging, and they said, you know what, you're wanted by the FBI, and he had to go back to jail. But it was right at the time when Bill Clinton was finishing his second term, and you can put in for clemency, for a pardon. That's why it's not as good a story as it used to be. So he gave him a pardon and he got out. And you have some power, and you can offer it if somebody asks, if you're in the right position. It's mercy. So Krishna's offering that to everybody. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masucha. Jiva Goswami says devotees always remember this verse. They always think of it constantly, because it's the ultimate mercy. There's really no way out of the jam in the material world. You can't wiggle your way out of this one. Just not getting out. It's too much debt, and no one can even tell where it's all stored. It's in warehouses all over the universe. You can't expend it all, and it just keeps piling up. And Krishna says, look, I'll just write the whole thing off. How's that sound? And all you have to do is just surrender. And if you surrender, then there's mercy waiting for you from Krishna. And that's why you don't want justice, because if we got justice for everything we deserved. Look at Nriga. That's the story of justice. Because Nriga was a karmakandi, and that's not bhakti. His idea was, I'll do so much punya, I'll stack it so high that, and that's what karmakandis think. They think that that's the main thing in life, is to develop so much punya that you can always stay above the fray. So he got that, but then there was an error in the way that he gave away. Might not have even been his fault. The way you read the story, it was just happenstance that one of the cows that he had given away to one Brahmin just happened to do a U-turn and come back. And somehow he gave it away to another Brahmin, and then somehow those Brahmins were cantankerous and started arguing with each other, and then he tried to intervene, and they cursed him. And so that happens. Stuff like that happens in the material world, even if you're trying to do the right thing. And then he ended up being a lizard in his next life, He was saved by Krishna, but he got to tell his whole story. And one of the points of the story is about justice and karma kanda. Better to just put everything in the category that it belongs to Krishna. Those are a few thoughts. Would you like to inquire further? Did it answer the question you were asking?
I think I did, but can I clarify if I understood it correctly or not?
Okay.
So I think you explained what mercy is well. I also asked how is it transferred or received by an individual, and it sounds
transfer is by airdrop, or you can use what is that called? ePay, GPay, UPI, phone pay. By phone pay. That's how it's transferred. If you just try to be open, then there is a kind of transfer. It just goes from one person's heart to another. We're very subtle beings, more subtle than what is it called? Phone. It's more subtle than phone pay. But that's what happens. We, by association, we take on the qualities of others. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. Whatever situation we have in this world, Krishna said it's because of how you were hanging out. Whoever you were hanging out with, that's how you are now. And then there's combinations and permutations of the qualities of people you've hung out with, and that's your composite. You get a composite. And that all comes from association. Okay. Kadashi Vrat.
Because you just mentioned the story of King Nriga, so I just wondered if I could ask. I was in a class one time, and at the end this story came up, and then at the end someone asked, how is it that he was doing karma kanda, but then he got to, he had the benediction of being touched by Krishna and like that. And Divyanga Prabhu said that you said that it was because he had distributed a Bhagavatam set at some point. So
you can't make that stuff up. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it, and it's right in the Bhagavatam. It's not in some auxiliary other book. It's right in the BBT Bhagavatam, where it mentions that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that because a Brahmana, Vaishnav, came to him and asked him for charity for printing Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and he also wanted to have a nice temple for his beautiful deity. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, because of that, that's the part where he got Krishna's mercy. And of course we use that for our campaign. And it's interesting because that's part of the principle of Krishna is so kind. Ho bhakiyam stanakalakutam jigham payad apyasadvi. That the description of Uddhava gives about, he's saying, aho bhakiyam. This is like amazing. That Krishna is so kind that Putana came to him with poison, and Krishna said, well, looks like mom, and gave her mercy. And in the story of the Avanti Brahmana, you know the story of the Avanti Brahmana? He's a wealthy industrialist, and then he's just stingy, doesn't do yajna for the demigods or anything, and gradually he loses everything. During one sacrifice that he did, he felt a little devotion for God and offered a prayer. And after his he was forsaken by all of his relatives, as the money dried up, and the demigods, and he was bereft of all his possessions. He wanders off as a detached devotee, seeking God, and it's because of that remainder from that one little prayer he made. We may not know the effects of all the acts of devotion we do. That's why in the Sri Upanishad, the devotee is not aware. You're not aware of all the devotional things you've done, right, Gopal? You've been around Govardhan Hill so many times, been to so many temples, or, Malini. You can't remember all the people you distributed books to, but Krishna can. So there's a verse in the Sri Upanishad, Vayura Nilam Amritam Atedam Bhashmantam Shariram Om Krato Smara Kritam Smara Krato Smara Kritam Smara. Let this temporary body, kids, cover your ears. Let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices. And because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you. And Prabhupada starts off the purport by saying, you don't have to remind him. He knows. And all that's there. And what to speak of Putana, who wanted to kill Krishna, somebody gave a whole lifetime of service, just so many sincere moments of prayer, and that all is something Krishna responds to that. I had heard Prabhupada in a lecture once, he said, at the time you do your lifetime of devotion, he said that at a time when you're leaving your body, Krishna will say, oh, just see, he followed the 4 regulative principles for me. She chanted 16 rounds for me. Back to Godhead. He said just like that. He knows we're doing it for him. So there. Yes. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti offers the following commentary. When Nriga mentioned one who hankered to have your audience, he was referring to an incident concerning a certain great devotee King Nriga had once met. This devotee was very eager to acquire a temple for a most beautiful deity of the Supreme Lord, and he also wanted copies of such scriptures as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Being very generous, Nriga arranged for these things, and the devotee was so satisfied that he blessed the king, "My dear king, may you have the audience of the Supreme Lord." From that time on, Nriga desired to see the Lord. Other questions, thoughts? Yes, Vishnu Gada Prabhu. Microphones coming from all directions.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Sasvarup Maharaj tells a very interesting story about King Nriga. And he was, in those days, each GBC would be Srila Prabhupada's servant for a month or two, and then they'd rotate. So during his month, Srila Prabhupada would have a bell. He would call the servants to come. So it was the middle of the night, maybe 1 o'clock, and Prabhupada rang the bell. And he didn't know what's going on, so he came to see Srila Prabhupada. He was sitting at his desk, and he said, "Read the story of King Nriga." It's 1 o'clock in the morning, but he read the story of King Nriga all through it, and that was it. Okay, now take rest. And they couldn't figure out what's the story. What was that? What's going on? And then the next day he remembered. Oh, a lot of people would send Srila Prabhupada gifts, knitted scarves, knitted socks, knitted mittens, and everything like that. So one time, just before this, Sasvarup Maharaj, somebody had sent Srila Prabhupada a gift of knitted socks, and he thought, Srila Prabhupada gets so many socks. I'll keep this. I'll keep the socks. Oh, that's why. Oh, you gave the socks back. So the mercy was hearing the King Nriga story, and also being reminded, don't take from the spiritual master like that.
Well, you brought up another aspect of mercy too, because there's a way in which, as Prabhupada, we find that devotees who want to make advancement find that when a worthy superior chastises, it, as the old saying goes, knocks some sense into you. And there's a sobering effect and maybe a voice that says, okay, from now on, I'm going to be good. And that's another kind of mercy, that if somebody who has the power to do so chastises with the idea of helping you to overcome some nonsensical way of acting, then it can sober you up, and that's helpful. And again, it's somebody that has the wherewithal to do that. There's another story about King Nriga and Prabhupada, because when Prabhupada first got the land in Ramanreti for the temple he wanted to build, the person who sold him the land then didn't want to give the access. It needed an access road to it, and he then was reneging on that offer, which meant the other part was, void. And Prabhupada had that section of the Krishna book copied, and he then sent it to the man. And he ended up capitulating after seeing that Prabhupada had sent him that story. Ananyas chintayantamam yejana paripasate tesham nityabdiyuktanam yogakshema mahamyaham was the subject. Are there any other points? Yes. Karunya Shakti.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I've still been thinking about the opening discussion and how it's evolved, and I was thinking, the people that we ask questions of, it helps them too. Either they're having to teach a certain service and it reminds them how to do the service and how to do it well, or even asking them questions that they have to revert back to like bring scripture forth. So I think it helps them also.
Sure, there's evidence of that in the Bhagavatam. Munayak saraprishtoham bhavadvir lokamangalam yat krita krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. You'll find that in the first canto, second chapter. And there, the sages at Naimisharanya, or Sudha Goswami, is complimenting the sages at Naimisharanya for their questions. He said, your questions are so good because they all relate to Lord Krishna. He was really appreciating them, and it stimulated him. It brought out the best in him. I know. I was thinking about writing a book about that. Questions and answers. Kaunteya Prabhu. Actually, I already did, come to think of it.
On the Yogakshemam verse, I noticed that It's a very famous verse in India. In fact, they use it even as a motto for this insurance scheme, LIC. The Indian devotees know that. And one thing is that, first of all, they take it materially as if God automatically takes care of all their wishes and desires. But I noticed that most people forget that before that line, there are 3 preconditions or prerequisites. And Krishna says, if you do this, 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 then this. And many people appear to just forget about the prerequisites. And so I just wanted to submit that.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's Grihe Tako, Bane Tako. Doesn't matter where you live or what you do, but you forgot the Sadahari Boli Dako. You forgot that part, right? That's the main part. You keep the transcendental vibration going. Yeah. Yes? 1, 2. Or whoever gets it first. Tie goes to the runner.
Speaking about mercy in the form, I was fortunate to witness one form of mercy today on Sankirtan with you. When you asked one person to give whatever he had, he said, I don't have any cash on me, I'll bring some and come back. And you told him, no, look something and you should have. And he had some packs of tobacco, multiple packs of tobacco, and you said, yeah, give all of that, and you took all of that. And at that point I was thinking, because either after or before that there was another instance and you asked him to give a matchstick because that's what they had. And so I was thinking, yes, this I know.
You mean the guy in the truck? Yesterday in the van with the matchbox?
No, today also there was a matchbox.
Oh.
From one of them. Maybe
yeah,
they were lighting.
Actually.
They were lighting BDs or something. So I understood matches you use. So I was thinking, what will we do with tobaccos? Accepting as donation. And my Sankirtan bag was full of so many tobacco packets of 2 different kinds. So
I know, I saw you holding it. There was a lot too. He had about 10 packets. And his mouth was full of it too. And we took it away and we said, no more pan for you.
Yeah, so that was the form of mercy I witnessed, that sadhu is
and he
giving
tolerated.
mercy.
He just tolerated the whole thing.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So the yatra's title I've been mulling over, Pilgrimage of the Heart, and I was also discussing with a few devotees as to what it really means to me, and I have not yet zeroed in most of the realization as to why I'm here and what is it that I really want from these 4 words. So that's been my meditation for 3-4 days, and I think I'm just trying to link some of the Japa circle learnings with this verse. And I think the theme of this verse is that strikes me is to have faith over anxiety. It's basically to fix your mind to Krishna and let Krishna fix, like you said in the Japa circle. So that was the realization.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Various ways in which Krishna says in the Gita, he mentions accepting gain, yadrishya labhasantushto, a line that I have always appreciated. Yadrishya means things have come of their own accord. Labha means gain. Santushto means being satisfied. Be satisfied with the things that come of their own accord. And when you have an awareness, chintayanto mam, of Krishna, knowing exactly what you would need. Of course, you can always pray for facility for increasing your service. But there's a way in which that full dependence on Krishna is one of the limbs of surrender. That Krishna is maintaining me. And in the story of Kardama Muni, which we just read at Govardhan recently, I like reading that story. It's very touching. Kardama Muni meditates and practices intensely for thousands of years. And then Lord Narayan comes and sheds a tear out of compassion for his devotee who's given his so many years of his life for this intense practice. And then he offers these beautiful prayers, and he mentions in the prayer zone, by the way, I need a wife. It's partly his duty because the early sages were to help populate the universe. Some of them opted out, like the 4 Kumaras. They were among the first, and they said, yeah, no. And Brahma got angry, and then Rudra popped out, and then he tried to engage Rudra, but he was a little unwieldy and burning down the universe and such. So then he had to make other arrangements. In any case, Kardama, when he meets Narayan and he says, I need a wife, Lord Narayan says, yeah, I know that. Like, why wouldn't I know that? And he's made an arrangement already. He said, I've already made an arrangement. And then when Swayambhuva Manu comes with Devahuti, that was the arrangement. And there's a section in there where he says, does Swayambhuva, that you should accept her. He says, if it's been given by the Lord, and he made the arrangement, and then you don't take it, he said you'll lose your reputation, and you'll probably lose all your fortune also by not taking what the Lord's arranged for you. And the whole interaction is very intimate in the sense that he has this very intense devotional service to the Lord. The Lord comes, he fulfills his desire because he's already made the arrangement. That's part of it, is that he knows what a devotee needs, actually. And then the part where, when that does come, Swayambhuva's advice is you should accept it, what he's arranged for you. So it's very exciting life, depending on Krishna. And Prabhupada speaks in a lecture, saying that we have these 4 regular principles. One of them is gambling. He said, but we have a replacement for gambling, and that is surrender to Krishna. It seems like a gamble, but it's not. As one of Prabhupada's godbrothers once said, surrender to Krishna, it's all gain and no risk. But the material world is all risk and no gain. So whatever you get, you're going to lose anyway. But there's this fear that I won't survive unless I try to accumulate wealth, protect myself. I'm not saying you shouldn't accumulate some wealth, whatever you need, but there's always a fear. But ananyas chintayantamam yejana paripasate. What is it? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was taking a walk on the shore just across the road and was thinking about how expansive the ocean is, but it looks like just a tiny sliver. And because I don't know how big it is, and I don't know how much mercy Krishna wants to give. I have no idea, and I'm safe on the land. I'm sticking to my safe zone, my comfort zone of being in Maya, and I know how things work here. I do this, I will get this, and I think justice is good. I'm feeling that it's easy to play with. I pay this much and I get this much, but I don't know how much Krishna wants to give.
I think about that sometimes when I'm trying to save a bug. Like spiders, I try to save a spider because they may be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I try to move them to a safer place. And they don't have enough perspective to understand that a big giant guy chasing him with a jar is trying to give him mercy and put him out of harm's way. And I wrote a vignette a long time ago about an experience I had in my house. At our house in California, we were out in the backyard gardening, and then the window was open and a little bird flew in. I thought, oh no. So I went in the kitchen, and the bird freaked out and flew to the next room and went to every subsequent room in the house. And finally coaxing it, and it was full of terror. It had that sense of terror, and I was almost afraid the way I was trying to save it, although there's nothing else I could do to get it. I had to get it out of the house, that it might harm itself, because it was so terrified that when I'd come into one room and it would dart to the other part, and if it just hit its little bird brain into the wall, then that would have been it. And then I would have had to live with that. But somehow or other, went all the way around the whole house, got back to the kitchen, and was perched up on the crown molding. And I had both the windows open by that time, and that was one of the aspects of the chase or the rescue mission that was startling the little bird, as I kept opening the windows, and that seemed quite drastic to the bird. That seemed like, I don't know how a little bird brain interprets windows being opened. And then the windows are open in the kitchen, and then there was this moment of clarity where I was looking at the bird looked at me, the bird looked out the open window and recognized there was a way out. And then the last look the bird gave me was, you tried to kill me, but I figured a way out, and it just darted out the window and flew away. And I had an existential moment where I sat down and I thought, that's me. And that's Krishna's opening windows, and I interpret it as, oh, look what you're doing to my life. Chase it. I was here, you moved me there, and it was a moving experience. And the way you brought that up about the ocean and how little we may know. When we were going through the Bombay airport, we had a 7-hour layover, so we checked into the airport hotel, and they have these big fish tanks right there in the lobby. And these exotic fish are swimming around. But it's a fairly small aquarium. And I was slightly jet lagged, so I just... Well, Nirkula was dealing with all the paperwork. And I was just staring at the fish, and I was thinking, yeah, here's a universe. For me, I think, oh, the universe, it's so vast, and it's just the little fish in there, and they're thinking, this is the whole thing right here. And there's no way of knowing. So opening ourselves to the idea that Krishna knows everything, he's benevolent, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam. That's a joyous life of giving into that. Let Krishna maintain me. I'll just serve him. Ananyas Chintayantamam. So let's have another short kirtan, and then we can have some reflections. Were you going to make a point? Oh yeah, go ahead. Please.
I wrote down my question just to make it more...
Keep that mic really close, please.
To have a clarity. So Guru Maharaj, I have a question regarding spiritual advancement. In my school days, I would study minimally before exams, hoping to score well through wishful thinking, but naturally this never succeeded. And I see a pattern of such wishful thinking throughout my various aspects of life. Now in Krishna consciousness, when I hear that chanting 16 rounds and following 4 regulatory principles can take one back to Godhead, I worry this might become another instance of wishful thinking. While I understand that the Lord's mercy isn't necessarily proportional to our sadhana, but my past experiences of failure makes me anxious based on my karmic patterns. I fear I might approach spiritual death, or with the same wishful thinking, and face disappointment. Could you please guide me on how to develop that right consciousness beyond mere mechanical practice?
Way is to appreciate Krishna's way of relating to us. When you read the Bhagavad Gita, there's not a sense that Krishna is putting obstacles for us. He's trying to remove them. And there's also a way that he's so encouraging. He tells Arjuna that whatever progress you make in this lifetime, you can keep it. There's no threat of going to hell forever or being vanquished. For those who do good, there's a verse, he says, they're never overcome by evil. At least that used to be the translation. And so just studying Krishna's nature can be helpful. And part of that is explained in stories like Putana and so on. And also, it's not necessarily about the quantity of things that we do. I think in the system of education that many of us are exposed to, there's a kind of zero-sum process where if you got a B plus instead of an A, and especially if you have family pressure, none of you have had that, right? Then there's a sense of failure even though you're doing the best you can. And that's not there in the way Krishna interacts with us. And so how can you understand that? I think by reading the Bhagavatam. In fact, reading the Bhagavatam is a panacea. I mentioned Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. There's attachment, fear, and anger. That Krishna says are the 3 main categories of stumbling blocks that we have. And when you read the Bhagavatam regularly, it's medicinal, and it helps you overcome all 3 of those. The Bhagavatam knows us better than we know ourselves, because it's Krishna. And sometimes people read stuff in the Bhagavatam and they'll think, what's that doing here? Because some of the circumstances, or some of the stories seem bombastic even, and then some of them seem really odd. And it's because our consciousness is odd here in the material world. When you get the combinations and permutations in the modes of material nature, there's some weird stuff. And it becomes prohibitive for us to move forward with clear consciousness and just be happy servants of Krishna. So the Bhagavatam then walks us through all the various ways in which we have psychological inhibitions, and then it helps resolve them in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, the Bhagavatam is the answer. If you read Bhagavatam, it can be very, very helpful. And something I've always appreciated, a verse that Krishna speaks to Uddhava in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where he says, just be yourself. Swe swe adhikarya nishta saguna parikirtita. That's the first half of the verse, and he says, be who you are. That's okay. It's enough. You don't have to pretend to be more. It's not like if you get a B minus, you're going to end up with going to a lesser school and then you're going to fail in life or something like that. For Krishna, every endeavor is, he appreciates it all. And he says, do the best you can. When we were in Govardhan, Prabhupada Priya Devi gave a class, and she was saying how our sadhana is really just to prove to Krishna that we're trustworthy. And she was saying, Krishna does everything. He's the one who helps us advance in Krishna consciousness, and he makes all arrangements. That's much of the indication of this verse we're reading tonight. And if you just try to be nice, try to be good, and Krishna will help you. So all you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough. Is a mood that Krishna puts forward in the Bhagavad Gita. Hey, you're on a yatra. Vishnu Prabhu told me today that he thinks your service is heartwarming or heart-melting. I mean, what more do you want? If you're having that effect on advanced devotees, I think you're doing okay. And you need that. Okay, well, go ahead. Everybody needs that. I mean, I don't think you're alone. And there are all these feelings of like, they even have names, imposter syndrome. Or like, yeah, everyone's saying I'm doing fine, but when they really find out who I am, then I'm going to finish. And these are really hard to overcome. So we need support. Like somebody was telling me today when we were walking on Parikram, I don't think she was even part of our party. I think she was saying that, I forget what she said, but my answer to her was bhakti is a team sport. And we need constant reinforcement. We're not some stoics who sit up on a mountaintop and try to absorb lightning bolts coming from the sky. Bhakti is very gentle and encouraging, and there's ways in which we get to sit with our favorite people and have nice prasadam like we did today. I mean, I feel edified because I get to sit with my god siblings and have prasadam. It's like, that's yoga? You guys are eating, man. A lot. But actually, I felt great because that's dadati pratigranati guyamakyati prichiti bhunkte bojayate chaiva sadvidam pratilakshanam. It is loving. This is our top acharya, and he starts his book of essentialized advice by saying, you just have loving exchanges. Give prasadam, accept prasadam. Be yourself. Share who you are, what you're going through, these types of things. That helps a lot. Like at ISV, every Sunday night we have this thing we just sort of evolved into after the Sunday program, and a lot of the guests have gone home. Everyone comes back in the temple room, and we have a program together, and near the end of it, just, okay, how's it going? And everyone has a different way of expressing him or herself, but there's a lot of sharing in that assembly, and I feel that it makes for a really powerful support system when devotees are in an environment where they feel they can talk about what's going well, where they're getting thrashed. And it's helpful to have that kind of audience with somebody you can trust or others that you can trust to talk about how you're feeling. You have to work it out. I ask my wife all the time for pep talks. I just sit down, I say, oh, excuse me, could you give me a pep talk? And I'm like, okay. Here's what you look like. Here's what it looks like you're doing, and what you're, and you know, she'll go on until I go, okay, thanks. I get back out there, and you got to have that. You got to have that. It's really important to be able to have somebody else look in on you and say, you know, you're really okay. And also, if they can be open and say, you know, feel a little more like this, a little less like that, you can just stay adjusted. So take help. Take help from those that you trust. And be a little vulnerable also. That always helps too, because we talked the other day about the mask. Remember my friend from high school, and he wrote that article of being freed from the mask. And that can be helpful also. It's not so easy to be vulnerable because the false ego is... And there's also cases where if you talk to the wrong person and you're vulnerable, then he might think, uh-oh, what are they going to do with that? And it might make you mental. But part of bhakti is guyamakyati prachiti, finding places where finding those you can relate to in a much deeper way. So you can work out whatever feelings you have and get a more objective view of yourself and how you're doing. Are we getting anywhere close? Should I keep going? Okay. Yes?
I just had a question. When Krishna is mentioning in the 11th canto to be yourself, I'm just trying to understand. So at this point, myself feels like many, many lifetimes of conditioning, both at the gross and subtle levels. So just trying to understand, what does being yourself mean at that point, and where does the individuality kick in?
He uses the word adhikari, which roughly speaking, unless you have a Sanskrit dictionary, you can look up it really means, as we generally see it translated, as your level of qualification to do something. And in relationship to that concept, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in the Chaitanya Shikshamrita that when you are climbing a ladder, you should put 1 foot at a time on a rung. When you feel that it's firm, and then you take the next step. He said if you try to run up the ladder, you can slip and fall. And he said if you become too timid and you don't want to make a move, even though you have 1 foot on the ladder, and then you think, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. He said, no, don't do that, or your advancement will be distant. So he said, put a foot on and then move up. And so he talks about how, uses that metaphor in relationship to adhikari, that we should feel ourselves steady at a certain level and then try to make an increase. But what was your question?
So yeah, just trying to understand what the first part was, being yourself is in that context, and also at what point does individuality kick in? Because if we're all parts and parcels of Krishna, and let's say we're spirit souls, then where is that distinguishing factor that this is who I am?
Well, we have two natures. One is the nature that we have in relationship to the material body and mind, and then we have our eternal nature. And there are appropriate ways to deal with each one. For instance, if you're living in the world, you have to do certain things in order to maintain yourself. That's called your vyavaharika life. And an example I heard Hridayananda Maharaj give one time is that if you go for a job interview and they ask you where you're from and you say Vaikuntha, then you probably won't get the job. You may have to say that I went to MIT and I studied astrophysics and, whatever you did. And so Vyavaharika means you have to understand your nature in this world and live a balanced life. As Krishna says, yukta hara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha, live a balanced life. And it's also in the verse, kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveta yavata, right? Say yes. And because there he says, live a healthy life, a life of vitality, which means you got to have it a little together in this life. So you have to know that even though I know I'm not my body, still you have a body, and it's got some momentum because you got a little robot to take care of all the time, and you got to feed the robot. You got to put the robot to sleep at a certain time. Do your research, how to do that. There are biometrics that you better pay attention to, because if you just eat donuts and globulins, which was what Divyanga said when he first joined the temple, and they brought him, he was on a macrobiotic diet, and then they brought him white puris with powdered sugar on it. He said he went from and halva and sweet hot milk. So he went from macrobiotic diet to eating donuts. You got to be careful on that level. And on the spiritual level, there's a way in which paramartika, we have our ultimate goal of life. You have to position yourself in such a way that you can be steady. Consistency is king. So if you're able, with all the things you have going on in your vyavaharika existence and the level of taste that you have at a particular time, Krishna says, tavat karmana kurvita na nirvidyatya yavata matkata shravanadava shadayavan najayate. He said, until you have a complete taste for hearing and chanting, don't quit your day job. Because some people, they'll say, oh, well, now I'm a devotee, I'll just renounce everything. That's what Jagannāth said when he first met Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, no, keep driving your cab and just give the money. And so you have to find good guidance so that you can balance both parts of your life. And if you can do that throughout a lifetime, you could put together one whole lifetime in devotional service. You're in pretty good shape. How'd you like to leave this world having put together one whole lifetime of devotional service? How'd you like it? Okay, right? It's a good idea. So there's a lot of moving parts in our lives, and even just Vyavaharika part nowadays, the world has such an artificial standard for living. You got to have a little foresight about how to plan things so you don't become a desperado, and then you get out of balance. I hope that helps. Yeah. Okay, now we'll have some time, like we didn't have yesterday, for some reflections from your own experiences. If you've written them and you have those cards, we can do that. And there's enough time probably so you can share things that happened today or awareness of how things are going for you would be nice to hear. Shraddha, do you have more cards? I'm assuming because you came fast into the room. Is everyone okay? Okay, we're going to try to pick another lucky winner. And the winner is that Gopal? Gopal. Wow. You won something.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So a few days ago we were at Tota Gopinath and the Pujari created a one-way system.
I saw that. I got locked in the other part.
I saw that as well. And somehow Hadai Pran myself were right at the front. I don't know what happened behind us. The speaker disappeared and it was just Hadai and me. I'd never been that close up doing kirtan. To first Balaram Revati and then Tota Gopinath. And I felt like we could just stay there the whole day and just do kirtan to Tota Gopinath. The Pujari turned and looked at us and I felt this immediate connection to Gopinath as he was being decorated. It was a very sweet, heart-moving moment. And then today's Harinam in front of Jagannāth temple.
By the way,
there was one particular man who stayed with the Harinam for quite some time. We got kicked out by the police, by the way. That's why we went across the road.
Oh.
A policeman came right out and threw
We should do that more often and set up right in front of the police station. It might work because I think like, no, they couldn't have done that because it's the police station. Anyway, go ahead.
And then we were doing kirtan to the pilgrims who were stuck in a queue system that wasn't moving. That was really nice. And then it was really hot. So I thought, let's try and sneak our way back to some shade. And that man stayed with us for quite some time. And then I realized the bag was getting a bit heavy, plus the mridanga. And then I remembered there's a Bhagavad Gita in the bag. And there was a little break in the kirtan, and I did the mountain pose with the mridanga. And he took the Bhagavad Gita, and we had the QR code. He paid. It was amazing. Yeah, and then today at Haridas Thakur's Samadhi, Siddha Bakul. Very deep, heart-moving experience there with the Kalpavriksha tree and chanting japa. I felt like maybe 10 years of different things I'd journeyed through in life just kind of disappeared and was lifted. It was quite heart-moving for me. And I'm very grateful to be on this yatra and for you allowing me to tag along and participate. I'm very grateful. Thank you. Thank
Please
you very
always
much.
tag. Always tag. Are you going to read your thing? What?
Oh yeah, Hanuman turned up in the kirtan.
Yeah, that's a powerful kirtan.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you. Hare
Will you
Krishna.
read your card?
Yeah, that was. I summarized it quick because save
okay.
time.
Thank you very much. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. And the winner is Mangala Bhakti, Devi Dasi. Where is she? There she is.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is reflections from Bhagavad Gita class. So regarding the point of service, recently I was hearing from Srila Prabhupada lecture where Prabhupada is pointing out about the difference between service and compassion. So it struck to my heart, and these many days I didn't realize there is some difference between service and compassion. So Prabhupada was clearly giving the distinction that service should be done to Krishna, seva should be done to Krishna. And for living entities, we can't do service. It is termed as daya. So Jiva Daya and Krishna Seva. So because Prabhupada is also highlighting one point, we don't show mercy to Krishna. Mercy should be for living entities. Generally in our side, people will speak the sentence, Manava Seve, Madhava Seva. So they think if you are serving living entities, that means you are serving God. No need to specially go and worship to God. So once it happened, one big discussion happened in our group, and some of the newcomers, they didn't accept this. They felt it very awkward. How you can say that we have to serve only Krishna, not the living entities. So Prabhupada lectures are helping me to understand deeper in this sense. Also, it reminded me of Prabhupada purport to Bhagavad Gita 2.1, where Prabhupada is stating, compassion is the sign of ignorance. So compassion is also under the three modes, but the real compassion is for the eternal soul. So, thank you. Thank you, Guru.
Thank you. Yeah. Now we have a lot. Rai Pran. Come on down here.
Hare Krishna. Keep the transcendental vibration going, we were instructed. No gaps for Maya. We were greeted where the rickshaw stopped to Guru Maharaj singing an old school tune, firing us all up and getting us excited to perform Harinam Sankirtan for the pleasure of Lord Jagannāth and his servants. As we got to the Yajna arena, we got a private escort from a police officer to perform kirtan closer to Lord Jagannāth. We took advantage of the eagerness of the bhaktas to see their Lord in engaging them in chanting. In the middle of this, looking at all the devotees encouraging others to chant, even though many of us cannot go inside to see him, we acted in such a way that he came out and saw us by the presence of the holy name. The book distributors and the Harinam party working together with Prasadam distribution. People didn't know what was hitting them on Grand Road. Even Hanuman had to come and see. When we sang Ohe Vaishnav Thakur, I reflected on my lack of capacity and taste for the holy name to perform true kirtan. Only by the enthusiasms of the Vaishnavas on the yatra can I act in any capacity. By the Vaishnavas' blessings, I wish that every day could be like today. Hare Krishna.
Sadhu, 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 sadhu.
I just wanted to add one anecdote. When we were doing the kirtan, we were engaging people in the line to stand. I just immediately I saw one random person from Orissa wearing a sweatshirt that said Ohio, like a shirt that said Ohio. And then I remembered my past life, of being from Ohio. I'm like, wow, where did I come from? And look what I'm engaging. I'm wearing bright orange, engaging all these people to chant. I should be doing some computer job somewhere. But I was just thinking, and I just looked back to all the devotees chanting behind me. I was thinking, there's nowhere else in the world that I'd rather be than just right here.
Wow. Whoa. Well, there's a lot of cards here. Good for everybody. We have Shankari Kaur. Devi Dasi is another winner.
So, Guru Maharaj, yesterday we were at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's, where he taught Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the morning we were having discussion about Tat and Tattva. And so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he had Mahaprabhu right there. He knew all the Tattva, but he did not know Tat. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So till that point, he was an erudite scholar, big guru, and everybody knew him. But all those gains were material gains. But the moment he realized that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just wanted to share.
Nice. Really nice. Okay. Another winner, Shankari Kaur Das. Since that was short, just keep going. Tell what the next thing is.
So Guru Maharaj, this happened while we were in Florida. I took my kids for Jagannāth Rath Yatra, and after that we were just rolling on the beach, and it was still afternoon, and my daughter was picking up all the shiny shells, and then suddenly she picked up something, and she got it to me, and it was not a shell, it was those plastic cigarette holders. Somebody had just left it there, and I said, you can't take that. That's not shell, and this is no good for you, so leave it. Guru Maharaj, thank you for teaching me what to embrace in the shore of this material world and to discard and not to dabble with. Just wanted to say that.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. That was one of the themes during the youth yatra. There was a song from the 70s from Elvin Bishop. And the refrain was, I fooled around and fell in love. And I was just thinking about that. That's the problem. Don't fool around and fall in love with the wrong thing here in this material world. It sort of caught on, didn't it? During that idea, like, don't fool around. Because when you fool around the material nature, it's serious business. You find yourself in some far-flung place that, like, how did I get here? And the opposite is true when you embrace Krishna. You end up like, hey, I was supposed to be in Ohio. What am I doing in Jagannāth Purī? I fooled around with Krishna. Okay, Shankari Kaur. I see you have a few here, so I'm going to apportion. Okay, let's see. We have Janavi. Hare Krishna, Janavi.
She was waiting for 3 days for this.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. I'm very happy to be a part of your yatra. And today when I was distributing books at a shop, the owner of the shop said that I always wait for this part of the year when your Sankirtan team comes. I always took books and stickers from you. For proof, he showed me 5 of our Jagannāth stickers stuck in the counter of the shop. He borrowed close to 4 books and donated 200 rupees. And I was so happy that he wanted us to come, and I'm also happy that there are people like him. Your servant Janvi.
That's amazing too, that he remembered from last time and looks forward to it. We don't know what effect we're having on the individuals or the collective consciousness. I did notice the police got a little nervous because they're such little controllers, and they're thinking, can we control this? Is it like, are they respecting us enough? And but everyone, yeah, that was really beautiful what you wrote. Thank you, Janavi. Very nice. Okay. And the winner is Chirag.
So this is a realization that it turned into a prayer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The idea is this: the realization.
Hold that straight towards your mouth. There, like that.
The idea is when we're doing japa and we're chanting the holy names, I was just thinking that I can influence a few things that relate to the manifestation of the holy name, but I don't have anything over the qualities of the holy name. So what I mean by that as an example is the holy name is sweet because the holy name is sweet, not because Chirag did anything about it. Similarly, the holy name is purifying because the holy name is purifying. The holy name is Krishna because the holy name is Krishna. So I pray, if Krishna and his devotees so desire, I may take proper charge of three things that are seemingly in my control. One is the decision to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Two is the ability to work on avoiding offenses to the holy names while chanting, and really at all other times also. Third, the conscious effort to listen to focus, to concentrate on the holy names while chanting, so that these holy names, which are non-different from Krishna, unlimitedly sweet and purifying, and which themselves can never be polluted, may pierce the deepest, darkest crevices in my heart and destroy the never-ending impurities present there.
That was really nice. It starts off in such a practical way. First, philosophical. I like those points. And Krishna's Krishna. He's sweet, that's it. Can't do anything about that. And then you have very practical, and then the end is very touching, how almost poetical in the sense of realizing there's parts of us that we don't even know about. They're so deep that Krishna knows about, and he can deal with that from the inside out. That's very compelling for chanting, isn't it? Yeah. Well done. Okay. Oh, the one with the painting. Vamsuli, an artist. I didn't know you were also an artist. Maybe I should have known that. Oh, is that your... Okay, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
The process is simple and effective when applied as it is sincerely. For many years, I've been distributing books in India, and I've always thought it's about what I say, how I speak, what language, what words, and how I entice the other person to take a book. But in the last few days, I learned that it's not me. I tried this for the first time, that I simply try not to say even a single word, not even Jai Jagannāth, not even Hare Krishna, nothing. Just try to follow your process as it is. And it was so effective. Of course, there were people who did not take a book. It's not like I was 100% effective, but I was stunned, and really also it gave me a lot of faith that if I'm not the controller, then things are all right. Because I don't have to deal with everything. No words need be spoken to distribute a book. No intellectual adjustment needed to chant Hare Krishna. I remember the point about how you mentioned, someone said, I forget who, but you don't have to think about, put the mind in middle.
Prabhupada.
It's just Prabhupada. Jai.
He said,
just
lips to ears, forget the mind.
Hare Krishna. So all these thoughts were going through my mind as I was sitting at the shore and chanting. And I was thinking about how I'm not going deep enough into the ocean of bhakti. I'm just sitting at the shore and maybe letting my feet wet a little bit. I'm praying for the mercy so that I can have deeper faith and enter more deeply and just follow the process as it is. And maybe with you as my director, cross over it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We got one more. We can get one more. Okay. Halayuda.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I have somehow or other been worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the very start of my Krishna conscious life. However, coming to the very places he experienced his highest ecstasies and pastimes, like at Tota Gopinath and Gambhira, it's just bringing it all to the next level. These stories have gone from a theoretical understanding to something visceral, something real. The cherry on top is the katha that we have been hearing from you, Guru Maharaj, and other of your God brothers and senior devotees. I've been thinking about how this katha actually opens up the experience, because after all, we can only see the Dham by hearing from the sadhus. It's just very moving to see these potent, historical, and revolutionary places of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his mood of separation especially. I pray I can go deeper in my sadhana and deeper in my spirituality, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. And just to add on to that, I'm really grateful to be here, because hearing everybody else's realizations, I feel that we're in such esteemed sangha. People are so talented, sincere, loving, serious, and kind, and it's hard to find that when you travel the world. So I'm just grateful to be here.
It's too nice. Try not to make him so nice anymore. Well, that brings us to the time when Shraddha Devidasa tells us what we've won. Because we're at the top of the hour. What do we win?
Well, this is the 7 o'clock Jagannāth Purī news flash. All the 9 flags are back. And tomorrow we have one Japa circle at the ocean. So we'll be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Once we complete Japa circle, we'll be back again here, and we'll do Guru Puja of Srila Prabhupada. We will do Tulsi Aarti in the evening tomorrow. And then after Srila Prabhupada's puja is over, then we'll have breakfast, 7:30, around that time. And then we'll depart by bus to Dandabhanga Gopinath. And on the way, we're going to stop at the...
On the way there or on the way back?
On the way.
On the way
there.
We get to go back to the filthiest place on earth. Yay! You get extra credit for service like that. It's the bus station. For every year we've been going there. I mean, it must have been years now. Go there and distribute books. It's a hoot, and you get extra credit for going into that bus station. Hare Krishna. That's all I'm going to say.
So from the bus station, we'll go to Dandabhanga Gopinath. We'll have Krishna Katha there. And then, so the area is under construction. So there's one spot which is clean. We'll go and have Katha there. And it's a beautiful place nonetheless. And then we'll come back here, have prasadam, class as usual at 5 o'clock in the evening. That's what we're planning for now. Again, those of you traveling with us to phase 2 of the yatra, if you have not picked up Form C, please do pick up the forms. For those who ordered khaja yesterday, the khajas have arrived. And Roshni at the back is going to help you collect your things. If you want more, then today is the last day to place orders there. That's all, Maharaj.
Okay, any other announcements? Everyone good? Anybody know how to fix a harmonium? That one key is... Okay. Do you have a screwdriver? We have a Swiss Army knife, it'll work. Nirkula always has a knife on her. Be careful. I think I'm kidding. Okay.
Just one more point that, so Maharaj, we'll just assemble right outside the hotel entrance and then proceed together for the japa. You want us to come there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I had conceived of a a japa walk along the sidewalk there. There's not that many people out there at that time, and we can walk along. But when you mentioned a japa circle at the beach, I saw Malini was like, good idea. So I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I don't know the condition of the beach at that time in the morning to be able to go down there, but we check it out. It'll just be nice to be out walking, chanting, or we can sit also and see how it goes. So yes, we'll meet outside at what time? At 6 a.m. And we're going to have Tulsi Puja at a different time. Maybe even at Dandabanga. Yes. No, you don't want to see that. You can bring your cell phone. It's no harm. Okay? Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Panchatattva, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Jagannāth Baladev Subhadra, if you so desire, please give us the wherewithal to practice devotional service according to our adhikari. Please also let us be kind friends to all living beings, starting with ourselves. And please empower our chanting tomorrow in the morning and at Dandabanga Gopinath, so we can feel your presence in those holy places. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Vanchakalptabhishta kripasindave vachapatitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakoti vaishnavinihi jai gaur premanande.